Story 1. Listening to Kids Bop remakes of all your favorite songs. Story 2. Always feeling like you need a bowel movement, but nothing comes out when you sit down. Hitting every red light. Ads every minute during your videos. Food that is always warm but never quite hot enough. Constant tickling. Stubbing your toes. Sun in your eyes, always a glare on the TV. Story 3. You are allowed to eat almost anything you want, but it is never quite right. The fries are a day old. The bread is stale. The steak is overcooked. The coffee is watery. Story 4. That moment when you are trying to get into a friend's car, you pull the handle and it is still locked, they say not yet, and then keep delaying it forever. Story 5. They did this on Rocco's Modern Life. There is no remote control for the television. Story 6. Every time you wash your hands, you get the cuffs of your sweater wet. Story 7. Your shoes are a little too tight, and you cannot take them off. Story 8. You wipe and get almost all of the poop except for the last bit, so you grab another sheet of toilet paper. Story 9. Your boss keeps sending Teams messages that say call me soon with no context. Story 10. You are constantly on the verge of a sneeze. You have an itch that runs away every time you think you have found it. Someone keeps huffing phlegm, getting louder and moving closer when you are about to eat. Everyone eats with their mouths open and smacks their lips incessantly. Whenever someone tells a joke, a mysterious stranger comes up and explains why the joke is highly improbable and unrealistic. Your jacket pocket gets caught in 9 out of 10 door handles you pass. Tables spontaneously appear in front of you, just long enough for you to stub your toe before disappearing. Your alarm clock randomly malfunctions, especially for important events you need to wake up for. It is basically normal life, but all your pet peeves are amplified and controlled by a puppet master. Story 11. You can watch whatever you want, but you get a DraftKings ad every 42 seconds that lasts for 3 minutes. Story 12. Behave, or you will be cast into a lake of slightly too hot bathwater, and your towel will be a fleece blanket. Story 13. Here in heck you can still access the internet via our dial-up modems. Story 14. You stub your toe multiple times a day and have a persistent runny nose. Story 15. Commercial radio, with its heavy rotation of songs, incessant self-promotion, and station call signs that arrive 1,000th of a second after the last vocal has ended. Story 16. You are stuck in bumper-to-bumper traffic. When it starts moving and you begin to speed up, it stops again. Story 17. There are 2 long lines to enter. When the line you are not in moves forward, you switch to it, and when the other line moves, you switch back, repeating the cycle endlessly. Story 18. Your socks are always damp no matter what. Your pillow is never cool. No matter how often you turn it, it is always hot. Story 19. Some doofus keeps following you and poking your shoulder while asking whether it hurts. Story 20. Toothpicks can push new bits of food between your teeth. Story 21. There is always music, slightly too loud. The speakers are tinny, and it does not reach your ear properly. Story 22. Shrinkflation is everywhere. Instead of a full stack of Pringles crisps, the tube is only half full when you open it. Story 23. Everything you eat or drink contains a curly pubic hair, no matter how careful you are, and everything you touch causes a paper cut under your fingernail. Story 24. The Internal Revenue Service makes sure you pay tax on everything, even that penny you found on the ground. Story 25. Satan already did. I live an hour away from Provo, Utah. Story 26. At its mildest, irritations include when you leave the house and your fuel light is always on. You get to the store and want a 4-liter jug of milk, but they only have 500 milliliter cartons. You want to pick up a coffee, but they have just started brewing a new pot, so you have to wait. Story 27. You get an itch on your back, just out of reach of your fingers. If or when you manage to stretch enough to scratch it, the itch moves a little in the wrong direction and becomes more intense. It is that kind of itch that lasts for the rest of eternity, always moving just enough to remain out of reach. Story 28. You must live with the knowledge that you are separated from God for eternity. The lake of fire is now a lake of tepid water. Story 29. You can play any video game you want, but you do not have access to any downloadable content. Story 30. Waiting at the registry of motor vehicles for your number to be called, and every number except yours appears. Story 31. Mosquitoes appear randomly wherever you are, indoors or outdoors. Story 32. There is a television in every room, continuously playing the Big Bang Theory reruns. Oops, my mistake. That is reserved for hell. Story 33. Lego in your sock and shoes that are knee-high lace-ups. The remote control battery is always dead, no matter how often you replace it. Static on all television channels with brightness and contrast at their minimum. The shower never gets hot enough. The toilet is always leaking and refilling. Milk or creamer is a week past its expiration date when opened. You hear someone calling your name down the hall at random times. Your toenails poke holes in your socks and blankets. Constant telemarketing calls. Story 34. Someone else in the house picks up the phone while you are downloading pictures of naked people, interrupting the modem connection and causing you to miss the good parts. You only have a computer from the 1990s. Story 35. A waitress stops by your table every few minutes to ask if you need anything. When you finally say, "Yes, how about some more coffee?" she never returns. Story 36. You get stuck behind someone at the self-checkout who does not really understand how it works. They eventually finish scanning their items, but it takes forever. Story 37. No texting. You can only make calls on a cell phone. Calls frequently drop. When you call someone, you may hear a busy signal because they are calling you at the same time. You both wait 5 minutes for the other to call back and eventually give up because the call was not important to begin with. Story 38. This is already a book series called Heck, Where the Bad Kids Go. Heck is like a version of hell for children. It includes depictions of torture. Story 39. I recently wanted to book a tennis court in my town. They do not have online booking, so I sent an email and received no reply. I went to the office, but the person was not there. At town hall, I was told I had to speak to that person because her office had moved. I returned to the office and was told she was in a meeting, so I gave up. Later, I received an email confirming my booking, but I had to come in to pay the fee. I paid the fee and was told I needed third-party insurance. I was given a web address and a printed one-page instruction sheet, which I needed. The office printer was out of ink, so I forwarded the instructions to the clerk who printed them, and I had to go in to sign. It was a lot of hassle. Story 40. All the smoke detectors keep beeping, but you can never tell which one. Story 41. You can only hear each other through corded headphones, and the cord constantly snags on everything around you. Story 42. You can never start a roll of toilet paper. You only get little shreds. Story 43. A light that never turns green. A never-ending line for the bathroom. The classic. Being naked at school or on the job. Story 44. Selling free items on Facebook Marketplace forever. Story 45. Hell itself is a walk in the park. Try being married to Satan's sister. Then you'll know what suffering is all about. Story 46. You are forced to cut out complex paper shapes with an old dull pair of scissors. Story 47. You bite the inside of your lip and keep biting it. You face a slow checkout at the grocery store and a slow lane in traffic. Every store is out of something you went for. For a specific quantity, like when you are fixing sprinklers and need 5, they will have 4. Your neighbor's mail is in your box. You turn on the radio, catch the last 5 seconds of a song, and it goes to commercials. The same with television. When the light turns green, traffic starts to move, stops again, and then finally moves. Story 48. No matter which of the assorted chocolates you choose, it is always the one with toothpaste in it. Story 49. You constantly feel like you have popcorn hulls stuck in your teeth. Doritos taste the same but have no Dorito dust. The toilet seat is always a little warm and moist. Everyone speaks like Generation Z regardless of age. Everything you watch has audio that is out of sync with the video. You can never find a matching pair of socks. The last chapter of every book you pick up has been removed. You have astigmatism. Every time you want to cook something, you are one ingredient short. If you go to the store and buy that ingredient, a different one will be missing when you get home. Everything you buy comes in the custom-fit molded plastic clamshell packaging used for scissors, even items that normally would not have packaging. Story 50. People asking the same unoriginal questions in the AskReddit subreddit. Story 51. All your favorite deceased musicians have continued aging. Elvis Presley is even fatter and much older, like a goblin king. Randy Rhoads suffers from severe arthritis. Beethoven sits mummified at a piano in the corner. Story 52. A huge television that plays only commercials we hate is very loud and we cannot turn it off. Story 53. There are frozen yogurt shops with quirky names everywhere and a clam chowder fountain. Story 54. Instead of hellfire, it's really humid. Not because humidity itself is torturous, but because so many people say that it's not the heat, it's the humidity. That is the torture. Story 55. You are forced to read the comments section of an article in which Nickelback bashes Kansas City Chiefs fans because Taylor Swift does not really like football, calls for the deportation of mooting, and asks for stories about how your life has improved by being unvaccinated. Story 56. Endless tins of roses and celebrations contain sewing supplies. Story 57. Frequently experiencing the sensation that your phone is vibrating in your pocket, but when you check there are no messages or notifications. Story 58. You are waiting in line at the Department of Motor Vehicles. Your phone is at 2% battery. There are loud noises everywhere. A person high on drugs is fighting with a security guard 5 feet from you, and your number keeps getting skipped. Story 59. I have the entire Steam library available, but the device drivers randomly break, and I have to spend a long time debugging uncommented code written in Infernal. Story 60. J.G. Wentworth commercials air every 4 minutes, and the rest of the time the Baby Shark song plays. Story 61. The wireless internet is very slow. There is pollen everywhere. It is hot, and the humidity is 100% all the time. The water is either glacially cold or scalding hot, and the difference between them is a hairline turn of the shower knob that you cannot figure out. Story 62. Everyone must use a straw for every drink, and each straw has a small crack in the side. Story 63. Every night when you go to bed, you forget that the mattress cover, fitted sheet, flat sheet, comforter, and pillowcases are in a heap on the bed, though freshly washed. Story 64. There is one extra long strand of hair in your mouth at all times, and you can never remove it. Story 65. All food and drinks are cold. Those meant to be cold are old and melted. There is no microwave and you are starving. Story 66. There is a soda fountain, but all the drinks you like are out of syrup, so it only dispenses carbonated water. Story 67. The background music playing through the speaker system is actually the sound of people chewing loudly, intermixed with whispering voices like those annoying autonomous sensory meridian response videos. Story 68. Forgetting to cut the razor-sharp tag out of an article of clothing before leaving the house for the day. Story 69. You are always barefoot and every step lands on Lego pieces. Story 70. The only food you can eat in heck is food that gets stuck in your teeth. Jerky, corn, and spinach. Floss and toothpicks are not allowed in heck. You are forced to step ankle-deep into a puddle and wear one squishy shoe that you cannot remove. The TV remote goes missing every day, and its batteries die every week. If you set your keys or wallet down, they will later appear in another part of your house you do not remember visiting that day. There is always an annoying song stuck in your head. Showers are barely above cold, never hot. Every sock you own is mismatched. Story 71. Every time you put on a new pair of socks, you step in a wet spot. Story 72. Getting kicked in the testicles once per day at a random time. Story 73. Needing a bowel movement immediately after stepping out of the shower. Story 74. Your phone keeps running out of battery, and the charging cable connector keeps breaking. Story 75. There was a long line at the subway that lasted for hours. Only peanut butter and sardine sandwiches were available. Story 76. Whatever you want to use, someone else arrived first, so you must wait a few minutes, and the item has not been reset or is in an uncomfortably used condition. You need to use the bathroom, but someone is in there every time, and when they come out the towel is damp, the toilet seat is warm, and they did not flush. You always have to wait for a shopping cart, and it always has some wilted parsley bits on the bottom and a sweaty handle. You share a house with roommates, and the one who likes fish always uses the microwave just before you. Your afterlife is always a little damp, uncomfortably warm, and slightly unpleasant. Story 77. I live in a homeowners association neighborhood where the local Karen complains every day about her barking chihuahua. Story 78. There are no working remote controls and none of the televisions have buttons. By the way, who decided smart televisions do not need physical buttons? Story 79. It is just your job to work with that coworker who always trauma dumps. Story 80. People listening to shit music on speakerphone on public transit. Story 81. You always have the feeling that you need to sneeze, but it never comes. Story 82. 1-800 for kids advertisements play in a constant loop and cannot be muted. Story 83. The coffee is too hot to drink, and it will never cool down enough. There are endless cigarettes, but no lighter or matches. Story 84. You have to open a bunch of well-sealed plastic packages, and your hands remain slightly wet indefinitely. Story 85. It's just you running up to the bus stop as the last bus of the night pulls away. Story 86. You snag your coat, pockets, or belt loops on every third or fourth door you pass. Story 87. Salt shakers with lids that never stay on. No Netflix, only the cable satellite public affairs network and the Weather Channel. The air conditioning works for only 20 random minutes every other day. No Spotify, only dial-up internet and LimeWire. The television only has reruns of Flo and Sheriff Lobo. Story 88. Everywhere you go, the ceiling is just low enough that you have to tilt your head to get by. Also, the areas are so dark that you cannot see your feet, or the lights are uncomfortably bright. Story 89. 3 times a day, you hear a loud noise in your house but can never figure out what made it. Story 90. You have hemorrhoids only when you are sitting, and plantar fasciitis only when you are standing. Story 91. There is no toilet paper. You must create an account, receive a code, and log in to do anything. Story 92. The restaurant gig. You find yourself in a cramped, overcrowded restaurant. You've been promised a meal and live entertainment, so you wait. The entertainer finally walks on stage with an acoustic guitar, but instead of playing, they spend 45 minutes tuning it. Just when you think a song is coming, they walk off. 2 hours later, they return and repeat the same process. No music, only endless tuning. During this performance, meal service is suspended for turnover. Everyone is forced outside, where 4 balloon-twisting clowns of wildly different skill levels surround you. Each insists on selling you a lopsided balloon poodle, convinced this single transaction might somehow free them from their own miniature hell. Story 93. You are waiting at the doctor's office or in a government building. You are stuck in a room with a beeping smoke detector that has no batteries. Kendrick Lamar publicly roasts you every time you fail at something. Your shoes are always ill-fitting and your socks are always damp. You have a perpetual stuffy nose. Story 94. Paper cuts are common. Parking is always 2 blocks from your destination. Taco shells break easily. All your neighbors like to chat about trivial things. There are no good radio stations. Story 95. Non-stop Pee Wee Herman movies studded with Victory Auto Wreckers commercials forever. Story 96. Your underwear is bunched up in your buttocks, but you are standing before the United Nations General Assembly. Story 97. You bite the inside of your cheek. It almost heals. Story 98. You post a comment on Reddit that you think is really cool. Then you think of another and end up posting repeatedly. Story 99. The videos are out of sync with the sound by about half a second. Story 100. The only song allowed there is Self-Esteem by The Offspring. Story 101. There is always a crumb in your shoe bothering you as you walk around, but you cannot find it when you shake it out. Story 102. The only available media is Progressive and Liberty Mutual advertisements. Story 103. Bop plays like elevator music wherever you go, non-stop. Story 104. Do you have Netflix? Yay. Every show there gets cancelled. You never get a proper ending to a story. Story 105. 30-second unsuitable ads run every couple of minutes on YouTube. A president who is a sex offender and gets away with it. Living paycheck to paycheck. When you finally get a higher-paying job, you end up with more bills and lose eligibility for discounts, so you still cannot get ahead. Everything has extra fees. Luxury items such as televisions and phones are cheaper than necessities like housing and food. I'm realizing this is just a list about life now. Are we in heck? Story 106. Being stuck behind a slow walker on the sidewalk is frustrating. It is worse when they are weaving, so you cannot simply walk around them without body checking. Story 107. It is a decent life, but you work a fast food job to maintain it. Story 108. You are only 1 year older than the child you are babysitting while their friend is over. You are not related to them and you are not getting paid. Story 109. Toilet paper is never clean when you wipe, no matter how many times. Story 110. When you have an itch and go to scratch, you can never find the sweet spot. Story 111. Every night at 3 a.m., you are woken by notifications from Trump's latest Twitter rant. You can eat all the Kraft dinner you want, but there is no milk or butter to add, and somehow the cows made it to heaven. Story 112. You have a better chance of finding employment, although the economy remains about the same. Story 113. I hope something mildly unpleasant happens to you, like an orange falling on your head. Story 114. Every app a company wants you to use instead of going to the website. Story 115. There is a swimming pool, but all the towels are cold and damp. Story 116. There is always something right at your feet when you are walking that makes you want to step around it, like a cat you are trying to avoid stepping on. Story 117. Windows Update is stuck at 35%, and the system displays a message not to turn off the personal computer. It is stuck indefinitely. Story 118. You live in an apartment, never on the top floor, and your upstairs neighbors have a genetic mutation that causes them to develop cinder blocks for feet. Story 119. When you drive in the rain, the windshield wipers never seem to work at the right rhythm. They are either too slow when the rain is heavy and you cannot see, or too fast when the rain is light and they squeak. Story 120. Everywhere you go, you have to take a number. There are 90 people in front of you and no chairs in the waiting room. Story 121. The only comedy comes from Scott Adams's Dilbert comics. Considering how he revealed himself to literally be a pile of shit, I think it would be low-grade torture. Story 122. All radios, televisions, and phones are always set at too low a volume, with static that cuts in and out like a radio station that is too far away. Story 123. Waking up 5 days a week for something other than peace. Story 124. There is always a mosquito in the room when you try to sleep. You cannot kill it, and even if you turn on the light, you cannot find it. It makes a sound that gradually grows louder and then suddenly stops. Story 125. So in heck you do not have to be tortured full-time. It is only for 8 hours a day. You are given a menial, boring, painfully pointless task, such as answering emails or attending pointless meetings, and you must do it every day. You have an overlord, colloquially known as a boss, who bitches at you incessantly. Even if you do your job well, you spend the rest of your day holding a rectangle that harms your mental health and worry about the person who takes all your money every month and could make you homeless if you do not have enough, which you frequently almost do. Oh wait, that is not heck. That is the average person's life. Story 126. You are driving on a 3-lane interstate behind 3 cars driving side by side, each 3 miles per hour below the speed limit and not passing each other. Story 127. It has Pepsi, not Coca-Cola. Red delicious apples are the same mealy mess as always. The tomatoes are all bland. The drinking water tastes like a garden hose. The toilet seat never locks in place. The fridge door closes only if the condiment bottle in the door pocket is completely closed, full, and in the corner opposite the handle. Story 128. A barely audible beep that seems significant, but you can never find it. Story 129. A cricket keeps chirping and you can never find it. Feeling like you have to sneeze forever but never do. Only having ingredients to make a turkey sandwich but always out of dressing. Always feeling that you have disappointed the person you care about most. Working an entire day, and 1 minute before you clock out, you wake up for work. Story 130. Being given all your favorite music, but they are compact discs and all you have is a poor quality Walkman that skips nonstop. Sand is everywhere, literally inescapable. Hair is permanently in your mouth and impossible to remove. Every light fixture flickers even when turned off. You are given only a couch to sleep on that is about 8 inches too short, and the armrest is not the plush, sloping kind that lets you comfortably dangle your legs. The shower faucet provides only cold water, and the faucet for filling your drinking cup provides only warm water. If you try to use the opposite faucet, the temperatures reverse. Your roommate falls asleep instantly but snores like a freight train. The broom you are given to clean up sand is always covered in sand. Story 131. Those scratches on your hands that you try to pick at with your teeth. Never-ending munchies. You keep eating, but the appetite never ends. Story 132. It always feels like you have a hair in the back of your throat. Story 133. When you are lying down, scrolling, or playing a game on your phone, you drop it and it hits you in the face. Story 134. You replay your life on rails, so you cannot make new decisions. It is a new game, so everything is slightly worse than the first time. A little poorer, a little less healthy. That pasta on your birthday did not quite hit the spot. Every run-through gets a little worse, but not dangerously so. Story 135. A popcorn kernel is stuck in the back of your throat in perpetuity. Story 136. You always have to put your shoes on before your pants. When taking them off, it is the other way around. Story 137. You are trying to sell Girl Scout cookies, but Bernie Sanders is heckling you forever. Story 138. You are asked who wants the last pork chop, and you are never fast enough to put your fork in before someone else takes it. Story 139. They are out of barbecue sauce, and the coleslaw has raisins in it. Story 140. When you wear a long-sleeve shirt, the edges of the sleeves are slightly damp. When you eat something soft or squishy, there is always a mysterious crunchy element. After a bowel movement, it often feels like you did not get it all out. Pillows are always at body temperature. Soda machine mixtures always taste slightly off. Story 141. Having hangnails on every finger and toe that you cannot pick off. Story 142. Peanut butter and jelly always get mixed because people make you use the same knife. Story 143. Listening to people wearing Goodwill blazers call their selfies cosplay and say, "Guys, check this out." Story 144. Instead of hellfire and brimstone, it is slightly too warm and smells like body spray. Story 145. You are forced to browse AskReddit where every post is the same, with only small variations in the titles. Story 146. Everyone who has ever even thought harsh thoughts about people who are homeless must be homeless for eternity. All the anti-homeless measures you see in heartless cities are installed everywhere. Spikes on low, wide walls, concrete bumps in sheltered corners, dividers on park benches, slanted seats at public tables, public water fountains turned off, public restrooms that are either always locked or require payment. Passersby always scream at you to get a job, but nobody will hire you because you are smelly and unkempt from having no access to showers or even those restrooms. You get to experience the lives of all those you judged from your place of high privilege forever. Have fun, assholes. Story 147. Sorry, I can't help with sexually explicit content involving a public figure. I can, however, create a non-explicit, TTS-friendly rewrite. Example: being forced to watch a public figure behave indecently while listening to Yoko Ono sing Neil Diamond songs. Would you like me to output that clean version for Azure Text-to-Speech? Story 148. You can never find your keys. Your phone never charges above 21% because you always get a brief thrill when the battery icon turns green. Your food is always cold in the middle. Your coffee always has grounds at the bottom. Story 149. The color scheme is hot pink, lime green, and other non-complimentary colors. Background music is the song Welcome to the Madhouse and Tom MacDonald's entire discography on loop. Everyone has the sensations of dust entering their eyes, mild tinnitus, a runny nose, a burning tongue, and a random itch somewhere on their body. Story 150. All conversations and music on people's cell phones will be on speakerphone at full volume. On airplanes, the people in front of you will drape their long hair over the backs of their seats, and people behind you will either stick their bare feet between the seat and the plane wall, or there will be a crying baby. No matter what button you press on work emails, it will reply all by default. When you walk around the house in your socks, invisible puddles will appear to dampen only one of your socks. On random days, the puddles will be cat vomit. When you use an elevator to go to an odd-numbered floor, it will stop at every floor anyway. If you press an even-numbered floor, someone will get on the elevator with you, spritz perfume into the air, and walk through the cloud. Story 151. You always feel like you are going to sneeze, but it never happens. Story 152. Whenever you take an elevator, it always smells like farts. When you take a bite out of every chicken sandwich, you will find a tiny bit of bone or gristle. You will be late for every appointment, and when you say the traffic on the highway was brutal and apologize, one person in the group will insist the traffic was light. Everyone else will stop talking and look at you. The room in which you fall asleep each night will have at least 6 mosquitoes that attack you randomly. Your only indication of their presence will be itchy welts in the morning and a buzzing sound in your ear as they approach. You will not be able to kill any of them. When you take your dog for a walk in heck, every third house has someone on the porch who will yell that your dog pooped on their lawn, even though your dog only poops inside and refuses to go outside. In heck, you can still get an erection, but whenever you try to finish the task, it will go soft. In heck, you can download the latest episode of a television series, but the download will only finish after you watch a spoiler clip, and by then the episode is spoiled, so you choose not to watch it. In heck, there is no too long. Did not read, and you are forced to read every lame Reddit comment in full. Story 153. No matter what you do or how hard you try to prevent it, your socks will get wet at some point during your day. Story 154. Once I took a bus home while on leave instead of a plane, and it felt like the entire realm of heck existed on that bus. Story 155. A group of vegans who screech every time you eat meat. The feeling of always needing to sneeze but never actually sneezing. Story 156. Every doorway has a smiling perfect woman ready to spritz you with perfume. Story 157. Every sock that comes out of the dryer is balled up and still slightly damp. Story 158. Every time you get to your plane's gate, they announce that the gate has changed. Story 159. The easy listening music at Hex Cafe has been replaced with Baby Shark. All meals are gruel. Story 160. Your bread is always a little soggy. The check engine light never turns off. Your food is either bland or too spicy. All the electronic devices you own buffer for 10 seconds every 5 seconds. Story 161. Customer service artificial intelligence chatbots and shower curtains that touch your ass and legs. Story 162. Every time you are around someone attractive, you have to shart really badly. Story 163. Constantly replaying all the embarrassing things you did or said that used to keep you up at night. Story 164. Videos must play from start to finish with no skips at normal speed on Pornhub. Story 165. You have to stand in line to get in. There is a lot of paperwork, no cutting in line and no leaving. The line moves every 10 minutes. Cell service is spotty. In some areas it is great. In others there is none. The temperature is slightly warm and uncomfortable. Everywhere you go, people try to make small talk, and you always respond awkwardly. You can eat whatever you want, but occasionally something will taste downright nauseating with no warning. Story 166. Your nose runs a little seemingly without end. You are aware of your tongue and adopt weird-looking facial tics you cannot control. Story 167. You get a fully decked-out gaming personal computer, high-end with ray tracing enabled and all settings at maximum. Then you have a 1998 Gateway personal computer monitor with an adapter to plug into the graphics card and one of those low-quality headsets given out at a call center before they decide whether to hire you full-time. Story 168. Staff meetings in which half the attendees ask questions at the end. Only decaf instant coffee. A weird smell you cannot trace. Printers that jam every 3 or 4 copies. All water is lukewarm, including in the shower. Only itchy sweaters. All roads are blighted with orange barrels and traffic cones. There is neither pizza nor ice cream, and no condiments. Story 169. You are forced to listen to all forms of propaganda from every political viewpoint, and you cannot move or speak. Story 170. You have to visit your demonic grandmother for a few millennia. For some reason you are naked in a small living room. It is stinking hot, and the one faded paisley armchair is covered in dirty plastic. There is a single high-intensity fluorescent tube. The air is cloying and humid, and it reeks because she smokes like a chimney the entire time. Awkwardly long silences are punctuated by aggressive questions about getting married and having children, or by withering personal observations. There is a black and white television on which the Dallas intro plays repeatedly. She has a small, demented dog that barks incessantly. You really need to go to the toilet the entire time, but the door to the toilet opens back into the living room. Story 171. Life is normal except that a neighbor parks in front of your driveway while you sleep and again when you are away. You spend an hour each day trying to figure out who it is. The car is always different, but it is always someone from your block. Story 172. It is important to note that in Christian belief, Satan is in hell being punished, not the Lord over it. Now for the joke. You can never find anything you are looking for on the first try. Story 173. Whatever it is mediocre, and the tormentor keeps apologizing. Story 174. Every time you get up to use the bathroom in the middle of the night, a demon scatters Lego pieces across the floor for you to step on. Story 175. Damp jeans, never fully dry. Never being able to read the last chapter of a book. Your phone always breaks after 3 months. Story 176. Anytime you try to stream something, it constantly buffers every 5 to 10 seconds. Whenever you try to download something, the connection is like a late 1990s 24 kilobit per second modem, with an 80% chance someone will pick up the phone and interrupt the connection, forcing the download to restart from the beginning. Every hour is rush hour, and you work a 9-to-5 job that is a 2-hour commute each way, extending from evening into the early morning. You have a desk job with nothing to do, and non-work-related websites are blocked. You get 2 weeks vacation per year, and both weeks must be spent on company-mandated team-building retreats. Story 177. You have lost your car keys. You are stuck in traffic and need to urinate. You hit a red light at every intersection. The only shopping cart has a wonky wheel. Your coffee order is wrong every time. The pull tab breaks off the top of your soda can. You are perpetually on the brink of a sneeze. The middle button on your shirt is just a bit too large for the buttonhole. You always wake up 5 minutes before your alarm goes off. Story 178. You have access to every streaming service, but they all have twice as many advertisements. Story 179. A horsefly bite on the exact spot on your back you cannot reach without a back scratcher. Story 180. Only 3 squares of toilet paper are left on the roll, and the new roll is downstairs in hell. Story 181. All these different answers are good, but I was hoping for some new story ideas. Story 182. Maybe Donald Trump made a deal with Satan to be placed in charge of hell. I doubt it. Donnie would never settle for that. He probably wants to run the very hot place and will accept nothing less. Story 183. Being stuck reading subreddit comments from an echo chamber that opposes your personal views. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.